An RPF constable opens fire and kills his superior officer in a moving train. And also he kills 3 other passengers who happen to be Muslims. Can you believe that all these murders were committed due to a hatred, a communally charged hatred? In this video, we'll talk about all that. This is Youturn. I'm Ramasamy Jayaprakash. Some RPF security personnel escorted a train from Jaipur to Mumbai Central. In that train, RPF Constable Chetan was also there. He had a disagreement with the superior officer Tikka Ram Meena. After that disagreement, he opened fire and killed a superior officer. This altercation, this argument was about religion and communities. After this disagreement broke out, he was not able to take it and he opened fire and killed a superior officer and went in that compartment. In the same compartment, he killed another passenger. That passenger was a Muslim. And then he walks further few compartments away, and after few compartments, he kills another Muslim passenger. And he walks further down and kills the third Muslim passenger. All these passengers happen to be Muslims, and the initial disagreement between the constable and the superior officer was also regarding religion. How can a simple disagreement with a colleague result in murder of 4 people, including the colleague? All this did not happen due to one simple disagreement on one particular day. This happened due to various days and various months and years of hatred being piled on that particular individual. And when we look at the society, there are many avenues where we get so much hatred. And many of this hatred is focused mainly on religion, and mainly this is concentrated on one particular religion, that is Islam and Muslims. So when during the COVID time, we got so many misinformation or fake news that Muslims are the reason for COVID spreading in India. All around the world, COVID is a pandemic. COVID is spreading because it is very easily transmittable. So people have to be very careful and they should not be in close contact with each other. Many people, many countries are talking about that. But in India, the discussion was completely different. COVID is something that is spread only by Muslims. They have brought it to India. And they are spreading it actively by spitting on other people and getting into close contact with other people purposefully to kill them. This was the narrative set in India by many hatred spreaders. Apart from COVID, there are many other issues also, like Muslims are adding infertility tablets to biryani, and Muslims are doing this. Muslims are committing various murders. Muslims have done this. Muslims have done that. Like that, many misinformation we come across every single day. Even at Youturn, we have fact-checked many of these claims, and many of these have turned out to be just completely false or even fake. Some are digitally manipulated also. So these kind of continuous hatred, which blame Muslims for all the bad things that happen in the country. When a person keeps consuming all this, there is a possibility for any person to become communally charged and very radicalized. And this does not stop just with misinformation alone. Even if you look at the political sphere, even in the political sphere, many politicians, MLAs, MPs, they all call for open boycott of Muslims. They have to be economically boycotted, they have to be socially boycotted, Muslims have to be, and they should not be mingling with Hindus. We should be keeping distance from Muslims. All these statements are made by politicians. Several politicians from the right wing and many parties have been making all these statements. If you move away from politicians, if you look at some religious leaders, who are not common people, by the way, not some guy sitting under a tree and giving gyan to people, not that kind of religious leader. Somebody who's very influential, who can sit at the same table with Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh or Uttarakhand or even Madhya Pradesh. This high level of powerful religious leaders and religious heads, these people are claiming, making statements like open calls for genocide. Muslims have to be killed. Muslims have to be raped. Muslim women have to be raped. These are statements from religious leaders. They say like this is a Hindu nation and Muslims have to get out or die. And Hindus have to fight them. There is no other way. If you don't fight them, you will end up being dead. These are the statements being given out by religious leaders. And these people are sitting with the chief ministers. And what these chief ministers say, just for example, let's talk about one particular chief minister, Yogi Adityanath. He had very recently said, Gyan Vapi is a historical mistake by the Muslims. They have to apologize for it and they have to provide a solution. If you don't know what Gyan Vapi is kind of like Babri Masjid 2.0. What they are claiming is this Gyanvapi is a mosque that was constructed on top of an Hindu temple. And Hindu temple was destroyed, and on top of the existing foundation, temple foundation, this mosque is being built. So we have to get this mosque back or the temple back. So this is the narrative for Gyanvapi. For this particular issue, a chief minister, sitting chief minister, is coming out and saying like this is a historical mistake by Muslims and they have to provide a solution for it. So these are the kinds of statements that chief ministers make. If you go one step higher, if you look at the prime minister, what is he saying? He does not talk about anything. Even if a entire state of Manipur is burning, it will take entire political pressure from the whole country and maybe even from international communities, international forums to make him talk about Manipur, and even that a fleecy statement. Will he talk about all these issues? Will he talk about all this hatred being spread? Obviously not. But on the contrary, he himself had spread these kind of views in the past. In one instance, he said troublemakers can be found out just by looking at their clothing. By looking at their clothing, you can find out who's causing trouble. He said this during the height of protests against CAA and NRC. So at this time, Muslims were protesting and they were expressing their democratic right. He is looking at them and saying that troublemakers can be found out by looking at their clothes. So even that is a communally charged statement coming from the Prime Minister. So any way you look at it, either it could be online or offline, any particular sphere, politics, religion or cinema, news, even mainstream media spreads many of these narratives. So any way you look at it, anywhere you look at it, there is a possibility of a person consuming information filled with hatred and fake news. And when a person keeps consuming this fake news again and again and again over a period of time, he becomes radicalized and he becomes extremely communalized. And this is not something anybody is immune to. It is common for everybody, from a common man to a person who is a government officer or an IAS officer, IPS officer. Nobody is immune to it, or even a politician. Everybody can be radicalized if that person keeps consuming hatred quite frequently. And in this country, we see lot of hatred being spread maliciously by various stakeholders for various reasons. And it all comes down to one issue, that is safety of people of India. It does not end with one community alone. It is not like Muslims are getting affected. Even Hindus are getting affected. For example, let's take at this particular issue. 3 Muslims got killed. Okay. And their families are in trouble. That is one aspect of it. That is one side of it. And the other side is 2 Hindu families are also affected. The victim's family and the killer's family. They are also getting affected. They are also Hindus. So in this issue, if you look at it, if you summarize 2 sides, both the sides, Hindus and Muslims, both are in trouble and both are going to face the brunt of it. Even in this issue, according to various reports, various news reports, Chetan had said, if you want to live in India, you have to vote for Modi and you have to vote for Yogi. And this is a kind of mindset that is being created in the society. So what will happen if this situation of continuous hatred in the society continues? If this keeps going on, there will be various instances of lone wolf attacks in the society. A common man who's very, very communally charged and communally manipulated to hate a fellow man, he'll end up attacking the other community, people from other community. He'll live in a position where he feels like he is duty bound to somehow fight the other community. And it is my duty to fight other community and I could even kill them. This is a mindset a person will get into and he'll start killing people. And this affects everybody. In many countries we are seeing this, and especially in US we are seeing many lone wolf attacks like this. And it is very saddening and very, very frightening to realize that this is happening in India also now. This particular instance is also a lone wolf attack by a communally charged man who has consumed fake news for quite some time. So there is a very high probability of this kind of lone wolf attacks happening again. And for this not to happen, it is a responsibility of everybody to look at whatever fake news you come across, whatever hatred you come across, and address it at that instance itself. It should not be allowed to spread beyond your watch. So this is a responsibility everyone should take up, and this is something that should be done to avoid further loss of lives. So Youturn will be in this fight with you. You can also contribute to Youturn by clicking the link in the description below. Thank you.